Why is it that some people are so productive? And what are their secrets? How do they do all of this? And how do I start getting more things done in a day than most people do in a week? Well, in today's video, I am going to help you see how you can actually get things done in a very effective way. And I'm going to do this by showing you, first of all, the #1 trick of the mind that most people fall for that stops them from getting more things done. The next thing that I'm going to show you is how you can too get more things done in a day than most people get done in a week. And finally, I'm going to share with you some tangible tips so you can have some take-home strategies by employing my work efficiency formula. The #1 trick of the mind that most people fall for that keeps them from moving forward is truthfully believing that I don't have enough time. The truth of the matter is, no matter how much it hurts, is that even the most successful people in the world still only have 24 hours in a day. Yes, they probably have an edge. They know a little bit about a thing or two on time hacking, and they have better strategies. They probably have more practice at getting things done. But the truth is that we still all only have 24 hours. So the first thing that I want you to do is a really simple switch. We don't necessarily want to tell ourselves, because the mind is so powerful, y'all. We need to make sure that we're telling ourselves that thoughts that serve us, okay? And what I mean by that is if somebody is telling themselves something that prevents them, saying, I don't have the time, that is an absolute stop in your psyche. Your psyche says, you know what, you're right, we can't, and therefore it will absolutely never happen. Instead of that, I want you to start wording this correctly. So we word it right. This isn't a priority right now, or it isn't a priority over something else. There are different quadrants, and some things might be not important but urgent, or they might be not urgent but important, and you have to figure out that which category is this thing going into. So it might be urgent and important. If it's urgent and important, that's something that absolutely has to get done now. Somebody's in trouble, a patient is in trouble, there is something that absolutely like your kid just got hurt. That is important and it's urgent. That needs something that's actually care right now. Whereas most of the time, what we feel is urgent, what we give our attention to as if it's urgent and important, are things like email, text messages that pop up. I want you to turn off all of your notifications on your phone if you haven't already started to do that, at least all of them that you absolutely can. And most of the time we might think that we can't turn those off, and we honestly really and truthfully can. So that's one way that we move ourselves out of those tricks of the mind that we're telling ourselves, because really and truthfully, like phones and computers and those kind of things, they're designed to keep you kind of locked in. So turn off those notifications, especially for apps. Get unsubscribed from all of the email lists that you absolutely can. If you have to abandon an email list, go to one where you're not going to subscribe to a whole bunch of stuff anymore. Make sure that you're keeping the important thing the important thing. And then also, sit down and tell yourself, okay, what is honestly and truthfully, what is important to me and is urgent? Give yourself ideas of this. As you're going through your day, start practicing and saying, okay, is this a trick of my mind telling me this is important, or it really is? Have I already thought this out? This scenario is on my list because I knew it was going to come up. Things that always come up in your life that distract you, and put it into one of those categories. It might be that it is not urgent but important. So those are things that I can't get done over the weekend, or I can't get done at a later time, and then schedule that in, because it might be very important to make sure that a part of your house gets updated, that maybe you have one of the faucets are leaky and that definitely needs to be taken care of, or you have a pipe or something like that's leaking. It's actually pretty important and it might have some urgency to it, but maybe not as much as other things, but I'm going to schedule that in. Make sure that you're identifying and acknowledging. When something pops up, immediately ask yourself, is this important? Is it urgent? If it's not, then you know that it's a trick, and put that into a different area of your life. Now, the next part of this is that a lot of people tell themselves, oh, I don't have the energy for it. I'm too tired, I'm too run down. Here's the thing, whenever you have clarity on what you're doing, where you're going forward, you're going to start having that energy. That's one of the things that is really awesome about whenever I help individuals build up their profitable passion projects. They have clarity for life. They actually understand where they're going, why they're doing the things that they're doing, taking the steps that they're taking, and they have true clarity. And this builds up more energy, because that's really and truthfully where energy comes from. We often think that it's, it just comes, obviously energy does come from making sure you've rested enough and making sure that you're eating right and you're exercising, and all of those things are very, very important to making sure energy stays up. But really and truthfully, true clarity is something that many people overlook. They don't see the point in what they're doing, and they're not having their true passion in something, even if it's waking up and going to a job that you're really not happy about. Having the clarity on why it is that you're doing that and how it does enhance your life. If it absolutely does not enhance your life, then you shouldn't be doing it. But in some way it must be enhancing your life, such as getting an income, being able to share that with your family, whatever it is. Now, the other part of that is if it is impeding into your not important stuff, the job is put on as an urgency, but it's not important to you in any way, and your family truthfully is, then maybe we need to make some adjustments here. Maybe that is something where we need to make a change, and you can't find clarity in it. Therefore, you can't find the energy. Now, the other part of this, and this is still part of the trick of the mind that most people fall for, is the things that are actually the most important, but they aren't urgent, will be the most impactful in your life going forward. So this is a very important part of our lesson today, and I want you to really and truthfully take this home. For a minute, pause me, think about this. What in my life is actually very important, but it doesn't have urgency to it, meaning nobody's saying you have to do it right now, or someone's gonna get hurt if you don't. What are those important but urgent things that actually make the most impact on your life? Whenever we sit down and we really think about this and we write those out, those are typically things such as exercising, investing, helping in our mindset, getting a mindset coach, getting a business coach, spiritual work, going to wherever it is that you worship, and making sure that you're keeping your spiritual health healthy, going on date nights, making sure that your marriage is healthy or your relationships are healthy, making sure that you're spending that extra time with family. Those are things that are not necessarily sensed as urgent. We don't have somebody saying, hey, if you don't do this, you're going to lose your job. But they're very important, and often they are the most important things. So those are the things that whenever we really and truthfully start doing them, we realize in longevity, it makes the biggest, most impactful part on our life. It's something that literally can change us overall. As long as we're healthy and we're working out and we're feeding ourselves correctly and we're making sure that we get that sleep and all of those things, we work more efficiently, we do better, we feel better, we're happier. And that's really and truthfully, isn't that the basis of everything in our life, making sure that we're spending the time with our family members, those type of things. But the important thing that I want you to know about this is that you don't have to be a victim of your schedule. Before we get into our second part of the video, comment below and let me know, what is it that's speaking to you and resonating with you on this? How is it that you've never thought about this before, or what does this tell you? What emotions are evoked in this? Comment below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, let's move into how do you get more things done in one day than most people get done in an entire week. Well, I've already alluded to a lot of these. One of these is clarity, making sure that you have an actual schedule that you're going to stick to. The next thing is having clarity from even sometimes the minute to minute. So if you're a high performer, if you have a job that demands a lot from you and you never feel like you have the time to actually sit down, schedule out a time to take care of yourself, to do all of those things, what I want you to literally do is hour by hour, minute by minute, blocking out at least 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time for each one of your steps. So in the mornings, I have literally from 6 a.m. to 6:15 what it is that I'm going to do and what it is I'm going to get done in that time. From 6:15 to 6:45, I'm making sure that is the exact time that I'm working out. If I'm not doing it in that moment, and you can even have timers set up, that's a really great tip for you, and making sure that you stay on track. So there's tons of apps for that you can download on your phone, and those are maybe some reminders and setters that I do want you to keep on there. But you can set those, and whenever it dings and you catch yourself, oops, I'm scrolling social media, I'm doing those time suck things that we all know that we shouldn't be doing, and I'm not gonna harp on them because we've all heard that 1,000 times. But you're like, ooh, that just caught me. I need to be working out right now. That is my priority. That is definitely something that is much more important than scrolling the social. So you can stop yourself in that moment, make sure you get it done. Commit yourself to doing that schedule and staying on it, right down to the absolute minute. You will notice you'll get so much more done. Oh, the next part of that is trying to multitask as much as you can. I know there is a balance there. Sometimes we can't multitask a whole bunch because it can cause you to be very anxious. It can be deleterious towards our mental health, and that's not a good thing. If it feels overwhelming or too much, then it's something that we need to stop. We need to pull back on, not do as much. However, and I know some people argue that you can't multitask. I believe that that is completely not true. There are times when you can't multitask, such as while we're driving, but there are definitely times that you can multitask. If you're starting your own business, making sure that you are doing, that you are recording a video and making sure that you can use it in several different ways. So you're using that one thing that you've done and repurposing it. Whenever you are, sometimes maybe in the pinch of a day, you might be playing a word game with your kiddo while you're folding laundry, but you're staying involved and you're utilizing those important things. So instead of zoning out in front of the television while you're doing laundry, you could be doing things like games that you'd play in the car or something like that. I Spy with my eye or whatever it is, finding ways to engage. You might be, while you're folding laundry, asking your spouse, hey, would you mind reading that devotional that, our devotional that we were going to work on together as a couple, and so we can have conversation and interact. And you're just finding ways that you can do more than one thing at a time. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be too difficult necessarily. I personally, like in my Time Hack Warrior training and Healer to Home, I teach tons of different tricks, such as, you leave the room. You always want to make sure that I'm picking up, this doesn't belong here, this belongs in the kitchen, I'm going to the kitchen, it's coming with me. So then you're not backtracking, you're not having to separate a certain time out for cleaning near as much. Those types of things, making sure that you're always on the lookout for those. And if you're wanting more information on that, for sure, jump into the group with us on Healer to Home, because we are going to be having amazing tips and tricks. So you can check the links below and it'll actually tell you whether or not we have an opening right now, and if not, then keep your eye out for that. Now, before we get into our third tip of the day, I would love to see more of your beautiful faces. Make sure that you subscribe here. If this is speaking to you, I give tons of tips and tricks exactly like this all the time that you don't want to miss, because it's going to absolutely change your life. Once you become a Time Hack Warrior and you're able to really and truthfully skyrocket through life, it's going to help you in so many different ways. So that brings us to our third tip, which is my efficiency formula that I want to share with you. So the first part of that, I want you to kind of think of an acronym here, PPC. P stands for prioritize. Write down a list. What are honestly and truthfully the most important things to you, and what do you know that in the long run is going to be more efficient for your life? Write that out. Make sure you have a visualization of what it is that you're focusing on. Maybe you can even put it into a vision board. So you remind yourself, like, this is why I want to build this business, because I want to have that time freedom. This is why I want to make sure that I'm starting to work out, because I want to make sure I'm there for my children in the future. Whatever it is, prioritize and visualize that in a way that it actually affects your emotions, so you remember your why. The second part of that is planning it out. Making a plan, minute to minute, putting it down, writing it down, making sure that you get a great journal. I love Shalene's Push Journal. That is my favorite. That's the one that I use. Feel free to Google her. And then the third part of that, the C, is creativity. So PPC. You want to prioritize, you want to plan, and then you want to get creative. How can I put this into my life in a creative way? And like I was saying, if you need more help with that, make sure you jump into our next Healer to Home, because I give tons of tips on that. I get asked all the time, how do you do so much in so little time? Well, I've been doing it for a while, and I have a really great strategy that I implement for almost everything in my life, and it actually decreases my stress, which makes me more efficient. I can think better, I can think clear, get things done even faster.